3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too. It's going to hold up.
That was President Donald Trump over the weekend signing the documents that should, if all goes according to plan, usher in a new peace between Gaza and Israel. It was a seminal moment, one that a lot of us have been hoping to see. And it is certainly not the end of the road. It is the beginning of a very long and arduous process that if they get to the 20 points of the plan and check every one of those boxes, we could be living in a new era of peace in the Middle East. Welcome to the Ben Mulroney Show. I'm your host. It is Tuesday, October 14th. And what a weekend it was, where we saw elation on the streets of New York and across the Western world, and indeed in Israel, with the return of the 20 living hostages. What did Israel say? Give us back our hostages and this war will end. True to their word, they have withdrawn their troops from Gaza. And that really messes with the pro-Hamas argument, especially in the West, where Israel said, if you give us back our hostages, this war ends. They got back their hostages, and what did they do? They withdrew their troops. And that also signals a really interesting part of the genocide argument, that this was a genocide. Genocide is a definition of intent. You must have the intent to liquidate a people. Where does that intent go? What happened to that intent if they showed how quickly they were willing to just go back to where they came from? If they got what they wanted, what was theirs, their people who were abducted on October 7th, 2023. The intent argument evaporated because they showed what their real intent was. Their intent was to get their hostages back. We know that for fact because they stuck to their word. Now, there are 24 remains of hostages that are still in Gaza. Hamas is saying there are issues. They can't find them, perhaps. I don't know. But they got the living hostages back, and Israel has rolled back their military presence in Gaza. Meanwhile, 1,968 Palestinian prisoners were released. Now, over the weekend at that summit, I want you to hear the words of the Israeli opposition leader speaking directly to those in the West who have been calling for a ceasefire nonstop. And here is a ceasefire. Here's what he told them.
I do not represent the government. As you know, I am the leader of the opposition. And I tell you, then you were deceived. You were deceived. Propaganda experts, funded by terror money, manipulated you. Now that the war has stopped, you have time and a chance to go and learn the facts. The truth is, there was no genocide. No intentional starvation.
See, and I just told you, of course, their intent was demonstrated when they left of their own accord because they got their hostages back. What have people like me been saying for years? This ends the second Hamas gives the hostages back. And the fact that there have been so many people in the West pushing back against that narrative tells me that had those people seen what is clear as day to people like me, the pressure would have been put on Hamas years ago to give those hostages back, and the death that the people of Gaza have been reeling from would have been minimized. Hamas is responsible for every single death in this war, every single one of them, every one. And the war continued because people on this side of the ocean decided to throw in with a death cult rather than see what was as plain as day to people like me. Now, sadly, some of the hostages who are going to be suffering long-term effects of trauma came back with some insights into the mind of the terrorists, Hamas, by sharing their stories of what they heard from the terrorists themselves while they were being held in captivity.
They think that all world should be Islam. They said to me that more than one time, more than dozens of times. They told me that after they finish with the Israelis, they will go to France and Britain and United States, and all the world should be Muslims. So that's how they believe this is jihad.
I wish that was some sort of unique insight, but they've said as much publicly before. But we have people in the West who have been minimizing and downplaying those sorts of statements for years. No, this is an act of resistance. And no, they don't want that. But what choice do they have when forced into this position by a genocidal, colonial, apartheid state like Israel? It's all nonsense, and it was always nonsense. And now we're hearing it from somebody who heard it from the mouths of their captors. Now, the U.S. seems to have given Hamas a temporary green light to reassert control in Gaza. Since there's a ceasefire, it should be noted that Hamas has killed at least 33 of its own citizens in crackdowns with rival groups. And we've all seen it on social media. They've assassinated people in the streets. Now, I have to wonder whether the Gaza Health Ministry has added those 33 people to their list of innocents who've been killed in this war. Probably not. Probably not. There's also something else that's interesting in those videos. How many quote-unquote innocent Gazans held up their phones to record the murders of these innocent Palestinians by Hamas authorities? Now, what are you doing with that? You're not holding on to that video for posterity. You are sharing it online. There are people in Gaza who do not care that they are demonstrating the bloodthirst of the terrorists Hamas for the world to see, because they know that the Greta Thunbergs of the world, the Cenk Uygurs of the world, the Anna Kasparians of the world, the Hamas apologists of the world, the Eve Englers of the world will see that and will somehow twist it into an ill by Israel, the fault of Israel, because why? They hate Jews writ large. Hamas says that they're going to prevent a security vacuum and maintain safety. Okay, well, we see what their definition of safety is: hauling innocent Palestinians into the street and shooting them in the head. Hamas political bureau member Hossam Badram told the Associated Press that disarmament is totally ruled out and not negotiable. Okay, so that's sort of central to this peace plan. At this point, does the other side of this equation have a leg to stand on? Hamas was given back unfettered access to the Gaza Strip, and what have they started doing? Shooting innocents in the head. They have no business having a voice or any sort of influence over what happens next in Gaza. It is incumbent upon the people of Palestine, the Palestinian people, to say enough is enough. And until they do, he's right, this is just a ceasefire. Until Hamas completely disarms, completely disbands, and does no longer exists as a threat to safety in the region, this is sadly nothing but a ceasefire. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of The Ben Mulroney Show.